Listen closely. It says, I am always near but never far. I am always around but never seen. I am often avoided but I always catch up. I will come when you're old and gray, or maybe even the very next day. I will come with a cold embrace and give you rest with a chill kiss on your face. I come in many forms, whether it's irony, love, laughter, or hate. I am everyone's final fate.
Death.
Death. Good, death, that's right. Okay, so that's what I'm going to talk about tonight.
Oh.
Hey, good introduction. So, here's the thing about death. Halloween is kind of a time, and it's a little spooky. It's almost, in some ways, this confronting death. And I was thinking a little bit about that, and I was thinking, why is it that people, especially nowadays, that there's a fear of death? And why do we avoid death? And the obvious answer is because it's death, right? In China, actually, they don't like to say the word for because it sounds like death. So there's an avoidance. We don't like to be around death. We don't like to think about death, even though it should be the most natural, common thing that we experience. And I was thinking there's a couple groups of people that don't fear death. Stupid people, right? And then there's a different group. And so I want to share with you, there was this story, and it's in the Hebrew scriptures, and it's about the prophet Moses. And all the Israelites, they're in the desert, and there's this attack by these snakes, these poisonous snakes. And so as the people are getting bit by the snakes, they repent and they turn to God and they say, save us. And God tells Moses, he said, okay, make this bronze snake and put it on a pole. And when people look at the snake, they'll be healed. And this is a really weird story because, first of all, you'd think, okay, if God's going to heal them, he can just heal them. Second of all, if he makes like this thing, it should keep the snakes away. But it doesn't. The snakes still come, and then when they're bit, and they're like, ah! If they look at this bronze snake, they're healed. And so there's something really interesting, and it's been proven over and over again, is if you want to face your fears, or if you want to overcome your fears, you actually have to face them. You have to look at them. So if anybody's afraid of going in that elevator, you should be, because it's dangerous, it's tight. And maybe you're like, I could never get on the elevator, but actually, if you can choose to say, okay, I'm going to look at the elevator. I'm going to watch people go up and down a few times. Bit by bit, you'll actually get braver. And so this snake, the thing that was killing people, when they looked at the snake, it actually was something that saved them and healed them. And so here's another interesting thing. Jesus, the Christian sign is the weirdest thing ever. It's this guy that's either dead or suffering. He's been beaten and he's hanging on this cross. It's a sign of suffering and death. And this is a sign of like Christians around the world. Why? Because if you face that every day, there's something to say, yeah, you know what? I see this example of what it means to deal with suffering. We're all going to experience suffering. We're all going to experience pain, and we're going to experience death. But if you're confronted with that and you look at it each day, it actually makes you braver in the face of suffering. And if you know the story of what Jesus did, he didn't just suffer for no reason. He was innocent. He was betrayed. It's like all the worst things that could happen to one person happened to him. And yet he faced it with courage. Because he had a purpose. It was to save the people. And there's something about that when we understand, okay, my suffering is for a greater good, that then we can take it. If it seems like the suffering and the pain that we go through has no purpose and no meaning, that's when we want to just die. But there's something greater for each of us. And I think it is to confront those fears that we have, that fear of suffering, the fear of maybe doing something that we're afraid to do. And even asking for the strength to endure it, to take a step closer to facing that fear each day because you have a greater purpose. Thank you very much.